We are live. Let me see if I can get it to where I can see comments if anybody come in. Boom. Boom. It's Thanksgiving Day. That was a crazy crazy game. Who knew it would have went like that? It's crazy difference in two halves. What a difference in two halves of football. Like the first half, the Lions are dominant. And I don't even know if they scored in the second half. Did the Lions score in the second half? Let me see. I don't even think they scored in the second half. Let me go to the scores. 23-20. The Lions scored. Yeah, I guess they scored one touchdown in the third quarter. 16-0 at halftime. They get one touchdown in the third quarter. That was the difference maker. But man, that's the thing about this team, man, that scares me. When they're rolling, they are rolling. When they're not rolling, man, it's tough. And the injuries, oh my gosh. The injuries are piling up. Luckily, they get 10 days. 10 days. But these last, they got 5 games now. They're 11-1. That's 12 games. They playing what? How many games they play? 17 games now. So they got another 5 games left to play. I mean, they got to play Minnesota again. Got to play Green Bay again. Tough game against Buffalo. I mean, 3 out of the 5 are, and they got to play Chicago again in Chicago, I believe. So, I mean, you could say 4 out of those 5. Let me look at the schedule. To see what's going on here. Let me look at the schedule. Yeah, we got Packers coming up next week. Bills, Bears, 49ers, Vikings. I mean, these last 5 games, obviously the 49ers aren't playing great, but they're still the 49ers. You never know, right? Packers, Bills, Bears again on the road, 49ers on the road, end up with the Vikings. It's a tough stretch. They got to get healthy. They got to get healthy, man. Wow. So Thanksgiving Day, man, it's a lot going on down there. Thanksgiving Day. Obviously, they had Shabuzi in the building. Great performance at the halftime. I'm always a whiskey guy, so had to pour up a double shot of whiskey for Shabuzi. But man, the tale of the two halves in that game, I was taking notes, and it was just like I thought the Lions were going to run away with the game, but when you see them getting into the red zone and they're kicking field goals, that always scares me. And I think I tweeted something out saying the Lions have to start turning these red zone trips into touchdowns. When you kick field goals, by the way, Jack Bates missed a field goal for, I think, the first time this season. But when you kick field goals, you give the other team an opportunity to stay in the game. You get them an opportunity to stay in the game. you know, and playing against the Chicago Bears, it almost came back to bite them. If they're playing against Minnesota or Green Bay next week, does that hurt them? The injuries, golly, it seemed like every play somebody was going down. Every single play. Defensive line, the depth. We're starting to see how deep is this Lions team, because as you go throughout the season, you're going to have depth. Can the young secondary make plays when you get past Terrion Arnold and Carlton Davis and the Mick? Can the backups make plays? You know, we didn't hear a lot from Brian Branch today. We didn't hear anything from Kirby Joseph. You know, he had an opportunity for a nice diving interception that we missed. Right, we haven't caught an interception in the past 2 games that I can remember. So when it's defense, they're doing a great job of stopping people outside of the second half. You know, they ended their second half streak, but not getting turnovers. Offensively, I thought it was just a blood game again. You know, Sam Laporta caught 2 touchdown passes, but I mean, he came alive. He might have had 4 catches for 16 yards. I mean, I don't even know. Let me see what his stats were, because I mean, I didn't hear much from him outside of, you know, those passes inside the 5. He had the one play on the sideline that he bobbled. They overruled it. It wasn't great. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a quiet day. Jameson Williams, you know, the thing about J-Mo, he plays with a lot of energy, but you got to start just playing football. The first play of the game, you catch a 3 or 4 yard pass, just get back up and let's go play football. Like, we don't have to get into the antics of crawling and eating. And you just caught a 4 yard pass the first play of the game. Like, first, we don't need all that, in my opinion. But that right there is a if the food isn't giving you heartburn, the Lions gave you a little heartburn. I was sitting on the couch and I was a little nervous. The defense came out; they were lights out in the first half. I think the time of possession and the plays, it was so lopsided. And I was telling my brother-in-law, we were watching the game, I say, you know, it's going to even out. I've never seen a game where it was just absolutely dominant, except for maybe when they played the Jacksonville Jaguars a couple weeks ago, right? But I'm like, you know, it's going to even out. And it did in the second half. And it's like the Lions couldn't get a stop. We were playing a lot of man-to-man defense. You know, guys like Keenan Allen, you know, DJ Moore, the guys was getting open. So, you know, that scares me. That scares me. You know, I think we could mix in a little more zones, because when teams know you playing man-to-man, they're going to run the man-to-man route beaters. And, you know, Cole Kmet obviously hasn't been coached up or was just not executing those crossing routes. So those plays could have hurt us. You know, those plays could have hurt us. Had a big one called back in the at the end of the game. And like, that's the difference in like good teams and bad teams. The way the Chicago Bears finished off that game, like, how do you have 30-something seconds left with the timeout? Like, think about that. They got to go home on the plane, get back to Thanksgiving. By the way, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. They got to get back to Thanksgiving and think about we still have one timeout left. We still have a timeout left. Like, that's not going to go over well. That is not going to go over well. You know, you got to get back home and you got to talk about that. People are going to ask you, right? You let 32 seconds run off when you get one playoff when you were already in field goal range, right? That is poor execution on the Chicago Bears team, and that's probably why they've lost a lot of these close games. Obviously, they can play tough, but their execution in those situations are not great. And the Lions are executing in those situations. They are maneuvering like a championship team, right? I didn't like the PI call on Vildor at the end of the game, just because I didn't like DJ Moore's effort. I didn't feel like he was giving great effort. I don't think he even thought he was getting the ball. I don't think that was a pass interference, but the referees called it. But we didn't see any panic from the Lions. The D-line, even the backups, Muhammad. I don't know who Muhammad is. Can somebody please let me know who Muhammad is? I got to do some research on this kid because he came in, had a big sack in the fourth quarter, had a pass breakup in the fourth quarter, bounced off his head. But hey, you dropping in coverage. You went to cover the right guy. You got rewarded with a pass breakup. So I thought he had two big plays in that fourth quarter. But I started seeing some numbers out there for the Lions that I hadn't seen all year. I mean, I heard they was pulling guys up from the practice squad. Those injuries down the stretch are going to be key. They're going to be key. I don't know what was going on with Zadarius Smith. I don't know if it was tired. I don't know. He'd go out, he'd come back in with a boost of energy, make a play, he'd go back out, come back. Like, I don't know. But Muhammad stepped up in crunch time. So you got to give him credit for that, right? I mean, you look at Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery, David Montgomery comes in. They got the Sonic and the Knuckles on. And by the way, those cleats they had on were fire. I will say the color combination of the jerseys with the cleats was fire. We got to give them credit for that. They are, the young energy is there, right? These guys are young. All these guys are draft picks. No, David Montgomery wasn't a draft pick by the Lions, but these guys are young. They're having fun. You got to love it, right? The jackets that they had on, I don't know who made them, but they were fire as well. The guys, they're dressed in a costume. That was fire. If you haven't saw it, go check out the Lions social media page to see the Sonic and Knuckles. But Jahmyr Gibbs, right before the halftime, we have a big fumble in the red zone. And they said they hadn't fumbled at home since Thanksgiving Day game last year, which they didn't win last year. So this whole time I'm sitting here looking at the game, and it's kind of different because I'm looking at the game from an analyst or I don't want to say critic because I'm a fan, but I also do the podcast. So I got to talk about the good. I got to talk about the bad. I got to analyze what is going on. And I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm like, this isn't good. Because they got moments to put the team away, kicking field goals. You're leaving them in the game. Chance to score before the half. You get a big fumble. And I'm just like, they're letting the team hang around. And it's going to get interesting in the second half. And it did. It got interesting. They pulled it out, but it got interesting. It had my heart racing a little bit. Can't lie. Had my heart racing. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think this Lions team is very good offensively. But I can see some predictability, with they obviously they have the run game. Hold on, man. What do you guys think about the Panay reverse pass? They pulled out a reverse pass to Panay Sewell. And he was going to throw it. He was actually going to throw the ball. They couldn't tackle him. Obviously, he's a huge guy. You can't get him down. But the creativity in trying to even pull that off, right? That was cool. But that's what we're kind of seeing. We're kind of seeing, the Lions pulling out these different trick plays every game. Some of them working, some of them not. They're exciting. They're fun to watch. They score a lot of points, although the last two games they scored 24 and 23. Not great, but still enough to win. But it makes you wonder a little bit, how that's going to play out down the stretch against good defenses in the fourth quarter, in the fourth quarter of the season, in the playoffs. It's a little worrisome, because it's gonna. The trick plays are going to be a little more risky the farther you go. I like how they came out and established the run game. with Montgomery and Gibbs. I like that. It seemed like they were slow with the pass game, though. I didn't feel the explosion in the pass game. I didn't feel the explosion in the pass game. And I didn't really feel a lot of energy from the offensive side of the ball this game. It just kind of like they were out there. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown caught the first touchdown. I mean, not touchdown, just caught a pass on the sideline. And his energy was just kind of like, you know, it just didn't feel the same. But this is the course of the season, right? They played 2 games in 5 days. It's a lot going on. The Lions are now 11-1, rolling in the NFC. And now they get to sit back and watch games this weekend and put the pressure on the Minnesotas. Green Bay playing later on tonight. Everybody else that's trying to catch the Lions have already won, and they're in the clubhouse with a victory. If you guys got any questions or anything that you want me to talk about, just put it in the comments over here, and I'll see it, and I'll talk about it. I'll answer your questions. I'm just kind of talking about the game, man, and kind of what I saw. It definitely was a wild one. The injuries got me freaked out too. I seen on my Twitter people hitting me up, asking me, can I go back and play D-line? I think I'll probably be the first one in the history to play a whole career as a defensive back, retire for 6 years, and come back as a defensive lineman, right? That'd be funny. I do weigh probably more than I definitely weighed. I'm probably about 245 right now. So I definitely could come back and play linebacker. Malcolm Rodriguez went down. Alex Anzalone. I saw they pulled up a guy from the practice squad. I'm not sure of his name, so I don't want to butcher it. I think he was number 43. I think it said Long Jr. Maybe I can come back and play linebacker, but I got to get my hamstrings feeling good so I can go out there and run. But the depth of the defense is definitely going to be tested down the stretch, because these last 5 games, they're going to have tough matches, starting with Green Bay next week. We've got 10 days to heal up. And that's the good thing about the Lions, because you get an early bye week, and then you come back and you get a mini bye week with the Thanksgiving Day game. They've had a light week of practice, and then they got through this game. They got some injuries. They got to heal up. I'm just looking at some of my notes to see anything that I'm missing. David Montgomery. The Lions broke the streak. They haven't won on Thanksgiving since I was playing. That was a long time ago. I think they hadn't won on Thanksgiving since 2016. Right, that was the last time. I was playing back in 2016, and I think I went 4-2 on Thanksgiving, 5-2 if you count the game. And I won't talk about that one. But yeah, 5-2 on Thanksgiving, 4-2 with the Lions, right? But I didn't even realize that it had been 8 years since they won on Thanksgiving. I didn't even realize that, right? But yeah. They broke the streak, 23-20. That's kind of been the score a lot of these games, 23-20, 16-19, all these different things. So kudos to the Lions breaking the streak. When you talk about injuries, and right, makes me realize how lucky we were last season. All these games, I tell people all the time, right? When you look at a team and you're 10-6, or you're 7-10, or you're 11-5, or you like, all those games are literally like, if you're 10-6, you're probably 2 plays from being 8-8. It's all about the ball falling your way, or you being just a little lucky. Like we talk about injuries, all those different things. And so from one season to the next, you have to erase everything. It's hard, but you got to erase everything, because what happened last year may not happen this year. And you don't get as lucky. Maybe the ball bounces the opposite way the second time around. The Lions have been fairly healthy for the majority of the season. And that's something that I talked about earlier on the podcast, how it's scary to me. because I've watched the NFL for so long. I've played in it for so long, and the injury bug happens. And generally, it's the teams that get bit early, and those guys get healthy at the end of the season. So I've been sitting on the edge for the last few weeks because the Lions have been healthy for the most part. Yes, they lost Aiden Hutchinson. It's a huge loss. But they've been fairly healthy, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Amon-Ra St. Brown, two running backs to be able to play a full season with as much as they get the ball and as much as they get hit. We've been fortunate. We got to stay that way because as we see in the NFL, all it takes is one game, and it's not your day, and you're looking back wondering what happened. Right? What happened? And so luckily, none of these injuries seem to be season ending. But missing games, obviously we missed Taylor Decker out there today. We missed Carlton Davis out there today because the guys that are having to play corner, those are also your special teams guys. So those guys are playing corner, they're playing nickel, they're playing special teams. It's a lot. I'm trying to get down. Let me see. That was the worst game. The Lions prevailed. They prevailed. Teams are going to stack the box. They're going to force. That's what they're going to do, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown is a possession receiver. Possession receiver is somebody that helps you keep possession of the ball. That's what they do, right? They get first downs. I don't know when the last time amon-Ra St. Brown has caught a touchdown or a pass over 25 yards. Everything he does is 15 and under, 10 and under. Maybe he get a catch and run, right? So defenses do not fear amon-Ra St. Brown going deep, right? Jameson Williams, on the other hand, they do. But a lot of times they feel like Jameson Williams is one of those guys. Is he going to be on today? Is he not going to be on? And so they're going to start to pack the middle of the field. They're going to pack the box because they're running it so much with Jahmyr Gibbs. They're running it so much with David Montgomery. They're going to pack the box. They're going to pack the middle of the field and make it hard for amon-Ra St. Brown and make it hard for the running backs out of the backfield. That's what they're going to start to do. That's what I would do. If I lose on a 60-yard pass, 50-50 ball to Jameson Williams, I'd take that. But I can't go home saying that amon-Ra St. Brown killed us across the middle of the field. I can't go home and say we let them run for 300 yards. They're not going to let that happen. So you're going to start to see them flood the box and take control in that way. They're going to put pressure on Jared Goff. We've seen when he has to move and try to escape pressure, it's not the prettiest thing. It's not the prettiest thing. Okay. So these are things that we're going to see. And like I said, going down these last 5 games, they're playing good teams that can rush, teams that can cover, and then teams that have enough offense. The Bears offense wasn't great in the first half. They spotted us 16 points. Second half, they come back. And I don't know this is the Lions, believe in Lions, but man, what an awful coaching job by the Bears at the end of that game. Like, how are you an NFL football team and just let 32 seconds run off the clock with the timeout? Oh, man. I literally had stopped looking at the game and I was like taking notes, right? I was taking notes. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, they're not going to get a playoff. Then I look up like, what is going on? I'm like, the game is over? Yeah, that was awful. That was awful. That was awful. Another thing that I saw from the defensive side of the ball, okay? I love Brian Branch. I love Kirby Joseph. I don't like being too critical, but I like being honest, okay? I like being honest. And the way the Lions are using Brian Branch, they use him in the nickel. They use him, and he's covering number 1 wide receivers. He's covering like the touchdown pass to DJ Moore. He's on their top guy, and he's one of our top guys. But he's also the safety. Okay, he was 1-on-1 with DJ Moore, and he put himself in a bad position. I don't want to get too much into how he played. He was kind of in no man land. And when I say no man lands, I mean he wasn't close enough to him to press him, but he wasn't far enough off as well to play off man. So he was like 4 or 5 yards off of him, and DJ just gave him a move and ran past him, and in the middle of the field safety didn't have a chance to help him out, and it was just an easy touchdown. And I was sitting here honestly looking, saying I had the tweet typed up. Well, what do you say now? If it's not Twitter anymore, do you say I had a tweet typed up, or what do you say since it's called X? I don't really know. I don't even know what to say. But I had something typed up to say, watch the slot phase, because they were going empty and they knew the lines were in man-to-man. So they're single high. They got one safety in the middle and they're going empty. So they got all these wide receivers and tight ends, those slot fades. Whichever side Kirby leans to, we're going to the opposite side. We got Keenan Allen on one. We got DJ Moore on the other. And they don't get a snap off. Or they get the snap off and they get one play. And they threw a slot fade, looked like a deep ball. And the game is over with. Okay. So I don't want to say we got saved, because the Lions won. The Lions played good enough defense. Now, by the way, that last drive started on the 1 yard line, and we let them drive all the way down and get in position to make that thing interesting. Not great. Not great. Okay. But that's kind of my biggest takeaway from the game. The Lions didn't play great, especially on national TV. So many people tuned in to watch the Lions. I don't think they had their best game. I think offensively they didn't play, they're controlling the game, but they're not dominating it in the sense like they were. Defensively, they're playing great, but they're not getting the turnovers. And so that's why these games are close. No turnovers. Second game in a row, amon-ra St. Brown doesn't get in the end zone. So that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing. The injuries are piling up for the Detroit Lions. That's going to be a problem depending on how serious these injuries are. Can Carlton Davis get back? Taylor Decker get back? And we escape the next 5 games almost injury-free or nothing too serious? Can we get Alex Anzalone back for the playoffs? That's going to be a key. Watch the injury report. They get 10 days to heal up. And we got to watch Green Bay tonight, right? Got to watch Green Bay tonight and see what they do. Do they continue to win? Do they have injuries? Things like that. But outside of that, don't really have much else to say about this game. Don't really have much else to say. The Lions, they won. They're 11-1. They're leading. They control their own destiny. As long as they continue to win, they're going to be fine. It's my job to talk about the what ifs, the what if nots, to give some kind of insight on what I'm seeing. You're right. Divisional games are tougher. They are. And they got 3 more of them down the stretch, along with the second team in the AFC and then the team that put us out of the playoffs last week. So these next 5 are not going to be easy by no stretch of the imagination. And if they play the way they played these last 2 weeks against 2 teams that are inferior in the Colts and the Bears, if they play that way, these next 5 games, it could be interesting. And they can go from controlling their own destiny and having the number 1 seed to having to go on the road in the playoffs. And that's not what we want to do. We want to be able to go through Ford Field. We want to have to go through Ford Field, and the Lions fans and the Lions just not going to let that happen. And we're going to be going to New Orleans for the Super Bowl. Okay. But that's really all I got. If you guys don't have much of anything else, we'll see what's coming out. Reports, injuries, different things. Probably be a quiet weekend. Obviously, they don't play. Watch some football tonight. See what Green Bay do. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. I don't want to take too much of your time. I've already taken 30 minutes of your time. The Lions pull out the victory. Not a lot of excitement today. Not a lot offensively or defensively. Just not a lot. They did enough to win. The Bears made it interesting. The Lions will have to go back and get healthy and see, different ways that they can be better. But your Lions are 11-1. It's a great day. They broke the streak. Haven't won on Thanksgiving in 8 years. Now they're 1-0 on Thanksgiving since 2024. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go watch some football and get you some questions in. I'll be back on during the podcast later on throughout the week. Get you some questions in, things you want to know, things that you are seeing. Ask questions. Subscribe to the channel. Go to Bet Online. Go bet on some games. It's fun. It makes it a little more interesting. They are the number one leading they are the number one leading, place to bet, right? Subscribe to our lines, believe in lines. I'm gonna be a lot more, involved and active with this podcast going forward. So if you want to know stuff, put your questions in, subscribe. I'll be answering them. I'll be on here talking. Get some guests in here. And yeah, go to Bet Online. Go to YouTube, subscribe, and enjoy the rest of your day. Until next time, until next week, I will see you guys. Peace.